The Story of Pinocchio. Once upon a time, in a charming little town in Italy, lived an old toy maker named Geppetto. Master Geppetto's shop was filled with wonderful wooden toys. But he was very lonely. His greatest dream was to have a real son to love. One day, he carved a puppet from the finest pine wood. He carved it eyes, a mouth, and a tiny little nose. "Your name shall be Pinocchio," he said lovingly. That night, before going to bed, Geppetto looked out the window and saw a shining star. He closed his eyes and made a wish. I wish Pinocchio were a real boy." After Geppetto fell asleep, a magical light floated into the room. It was the Blue Fairy. She had heard Geppetto's kind-hearted wish. She touched Pinocchio with her wand and whispered, "Little puppet made of pine, awake. The gift of life is thine." When morning came, Master Geppetto woke up to a thin voice saying, "Good morning." He opened his eyes, and what did he see? Pinocchio was walking on the table and waving. Geppetto's eyes filled with tears of joy. "You're alive! You're almost a real boy!" he shouted and gave him a big hug. The Blue Fairy appeared again and said to Pinocchio, "To be a real boy, you must be brave, truthful, and loving. And remember, whenever you tell a lie..." Instead of going to school, Pinocchio immediately ran outside, wanting to explore. On the way, a sly fox saw him and said, "School is boring. Come, I'll take you to a wonderful puppet show." Pinocchio gave the school money his father had given him to the fox and went to the show. When he returned home that evening, Geppetto asked, "How was school, Pinocchio?" Pinocchio was scared and said, It was great. I read lots of books." Pop! His nose suddenly began to grow longer. Geppetto asked with surprise, "And where was your school money?" Pinocchio replied, I lost it." Pop! Pop! His nose grew even longer, and a tiny leaf sprouted from its tip. Pinocchio started to cry. He was so ashamed for lying. The Blue Fairy appeared and said, "You see, Pinocchio, lies have long noses." When Pinocchio promised to tell the truth, the fairy turned his nose back to its normal size. But Pinocchio couldn't find his father. Geppetto had gotten worried and had gone out to sea in a boat to look for him. Pinocchio bravely ran towards the sea to find his father. He made a small raft and searched for his father, fighting against the waves. After a long search, he found his father on a small island. Geppetto was very tired and sad. They hugged each other tightly. Pinocchio helped his father, and together they returned home safely. That night, the Blue Fairy came again. She looked at Pinocchio with a smile. "You were brave because you saved your father. You were truthful because you understood your mistake. And you are loving because you love your father very much. You have now earned the right to be a real boy." A magical light surrounded Pinocchio. His wooden body transformed into real skin. When he opened his eyes, he was no longer a wooden puppet, but a real boy. From that day on, Geppetto and Pinocchio lived happily ever after.